Boy, I am thrilled to introduce you to a fabulous woman, Mary Matossian. She is going to change your life, people. We're so happy she's joined us here on Author's Corner. The name of her book, and I'm going to show it to you, I Love Bacon, but I Love Me More. Do you love that? I want to show you the cover. It is so clever because she talks in this book, banish metabolic, easy for me to say, metabolic, which has always been my struggle, syndrome. And it's the gateway to chronic disease, right? You think about chronic disease. And this is the part I really like too. I'm glad she put this on the book. Live a longer, sexier life because you deserve it. This book is easy to read. This book is packed full of information that will, I'm serious, blow your mind. So Mary, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Kate. I'm so excited to be here. This is such a privilege, and I'm excited to share this message of hope. It was a very long journey for me to get to this place. One of the biggest things that I talk about is suffering from metabolic syndrome. So I had that from the age of 40 to 52. So it was 12 years of suffering. So there was economic loss, there was tremendous emotional suffering that went along with this. But the question is, what is metabolic syndrome?
Yeah.
And metabolic syndrome, it's a cohort of conditions directly related to our blood and a circulation systematic problem. So it is high blood pressure, it is high blood glucose, which leads to diabetes, it's high cholesterol, and it's also fatty liver. So you have fatty liver that goes along with it. So what's happening is you have all this cholesterol showing up in your body, and these are animal products. This is animal cholesterol. As humans, we make our own cholesterol, just like a cow makes its own cholesterol. But when cholesterol comes into our body, it's like, I don't know where to go. And our bodies are meant to be processing carbohydrates because we need the glucose. It's glucose that our muscles need, and it's glucose that our brain uses. And it's insulin that gets this very basic carbohydrate to our muscles and to our brain. So what happens is suddenly, I'll tell you, it's 1 out of 3 Americans have diabetes too. So when we have a very high fat content in our blood, it literally blocks the insulin from getting into our muscles, and it gives us brain fog. So once I reduced the animal fat out of my diet and animal products out of my diet, I became more alert. I had more energy. I could focus more. I was losing weight. I could concentrate for the entire day. I slept better. I felt better. My blood pressure came down. My blood glucose came down. My cholesterol came down. In fact, my cholesterol went from 230 down to 130, not on medication.
Wow.
My blood pressure went from 170 over 110 down to 110 over 70. And that was within 4 days of going to the True North Clinic. And I really praise that place because I had an experience there. When I gave up salt, oil, sugar, animal products, suddenly all my blood values became normal. And it was shocking. It was truly shocking at that point. So
wow. And you had to write this book because you were on this journey because you were frustrated that metabolic syndrome is serious. And then there's always the press to, well, you can't get it down, so we have medications for that. And then you get on that train, the medication train, and thank goodness you dove deeper and peeled back and figured out it was the food, it was what you were doing there. And oh, what a difference it makes. So it brings up the question, how is the healthcare industry failing us?
Sure, that's a great question. And since COVID, the healthcare industry is $4.5 trillion a year. So that's $13,500 per American. We're not spending that much on food. And so you got to wonder what's going on. We have several industries that are kind of involved in this misinformation. I don't blame them because they don't have the information. When you go see the doctor because you have chronic heart disease, you have diabetes, you've got fatty liver disease, the first question they should be asking you is, what are you eating? Period. So food has become my homework. Before it was like, that was my way to escape. I could just have these outrageous, extraordinary, fabulous meals. And after taking 250 hours of continuing education through some major organizations, I started labeling my food as my homework. One of the things I bring up in my book is I had to give up some spectacular foods like chicken, like cheese, steak. And I renamed it. I had to rename it. So chicken, I now call cyanide, and for many good reasons. And you'll find that out in my book. Is suddenly it was like, as much as I love chicken, as much as I love bacon, bacon is a class 1 carcinogen, along with sausage, hot dogs, processed meats. So I suddenly just had to give up bacon because it was harming me every time I ate it. And so it was very painful. And I really delved very deep into the science behind a plant-based diet. And I discovered so many shocking bits and pieces of information. And my book is written on a 5th grade level with illustrations. The main illustration is a blood drop. We all have blood in common, and its blood responds the same way to a ketoacidosis diet, to the standard American diet, which is now worldwide. It responds the same way to a plant-based diet. And when we're on a plant-based diet, all of our blood values go back to normal. And it was spectacular. Suddenly, I just felt richer. You don't have to be a scientist. You don't have to be smart. You don't have to be a chef to be on this diet. If you're truly interested in improving your health, this is the diet for you. And no, I'm not hungry. I'm not hungry at all on this diet. And being on it's essentially a high fiber diet. And it's also a balanced protein diet. Vegetables are chock full of protein. Beans, so the thing that I eat, for example, during the day is I'll have brown rice, I'll have black beans, I'll have steamed vegetables, I'll have marinara on it. Delicious and huge. These are big meals. Another one of my favorite would be baked potato, steamed broccoli, marinara, a green salad on the side. Kate, one of the things that I had to do when I got on this diet was suddenly I had to take the time to eat. Because when you're eating a high fiber diet, I had to chew the food. It also built up my muscles here, my jaw muscles, and my masseter muscles. So I had to take the time to eat. One of the things I bring up in my book is we stop eating when we're full. We don't stop eating when we've had enough calories. So essentially the stomach will take in about a half a gallon of food. That would be, as I mentioned, broccoli, potatoes, beans. That's about 400 calories. If I was to take in oil, brie cheese, steak, ice cream, and fill up my stomach on oil, that's 4,000 calories. And so it was just fascinating to be able to just sit back and really make food my homework to support my cardiovascular system, my pancreas, my brain, to avoid also Alzheimer's, autoimmune disorders, some of the really big diseases that plague us as we get older.
And you said it, I love what you said. You went through it with bacon, with sausage, with everything, and renaming your foods. How brilliant is that? So for everybody listening, and your book is great because, like you said, it's written at an easy to understand level with suggestions of what to eat. Very easy to meet. You just eat. And you told us one of the great suggestions, the brown rice, the baked potatoes, and what you can put on it. Because I think sometimes people think, oh, I can never have rice again. I can never have baked potato again. That's not true. It's how you make it and what you put with it. So with those challenges, how do you shy away from, how should people shy away from, which you had in the beginning, foods that you love, that you were eating constantly?
Yeah, yeah. That's a great question. One of the things I bring up in my book is humans do not like to get hurt and we don't like to get injured. So like I would never, and I live in, way up high in the Sierras and I go backpacking a lot. I run into rattlesnakes, run into bears, and like I will never approach a rattlesnake to have it bite me just to see what it feels like. I'll never go down the wrong side of the road on the highway just to see what a car accident feels like. I will never eat cyanide, arsenic, mercury to see what it feels like. And yet we've been hoodwinked into eating food that is slowly killing us. Not as fast as cyanide, but slowly killing us. We do like rules. And when I discovered these basic rules on food, suddenly my life became more peaceful, more calm. I became more productive. I had more money in my pocket. So when I discovered these rules that actually support a high functioning human being, my life got so much better. I also want to mention the thing that really gets us is there's so many gurus out there. There's so much push for a high protein diet that we have tremendous confusion. So the beef and dairy industry bring in $100 billion a year promoting their products in the United States and worldwide. They also have over $100 million marketing program that confuses us that we need high protein, we need dairy, we need whey, we don't. And so when I challenge people in my book, really challenge people to take responsibility for their health, to do their own homework. In the back of my book, I list all the sources and all the resources that I've used to make these really big changes. Another thing that
Thank
came up.
goodness, like you said, it's right here in the back.
Yes.
You've got it all. So now the big work that you did, everything that you dug into makes it so much easier for someone to walk down that road, right?
Yes, yes. And I made the book, believe it or not, as short as possible and as dramatic as possible. And if people want to do more homework, then they can. They can do more homework. Some of the big statistics I want to talk about here in the United States is 1 of 3 Americans has diabetes. 1 of 4 Americans will die of cancer. 70% of Americans are overweight. The American Heart Association has stated that 17 million people die worldwide from heart attacks. So there's something big going on. And since 2014, the lifespan in the United States is now is much, we're dying at younger ages. We're dying from liver cancer, colon cancer, heart attacks. And it's like, there's a reason for it. It's not a mystery to us. It's not a mystery at all. It's because of what we're eating and how much work our blood has to do to process these toxins out of our body.
Yeah. So it's a good time to talk about the blood challenge. What is exactly what you're coming around to?
Yes, yes. I want to mention the blood challenge, but one of the things I want to mention, this is a big deal when people choose, I'm going to be plant-based. They say, I'm going to be plant-based. Is the first month, they're suddenly going, I don't feel good. I feel terrible. I need my chicken back. I need my cheese. I can't get away from cheese. And the reason being, Kate, is what happens is all these stored toxins in our cardiovascular system, in our lungs, in our deposits are now coming into the blood and they're leaving the body. So they go through this mechanism in the liver. They pass from the blood, go through the liver into the small colon and the large colon. It's our fiber that grabs up and takes this these toxins out of the body. So when a person decides to be plant-based, I highly recommend at least a month. Give it a month. People might have basic blood work already to work with. Use that as your parameter. Give it a month. If you want to, go back and get your blood checked again. It was so shocking to me how my blood values, my blood pressure had all changed after being on this. And this was like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months after the blood challenge. So what I'm recommending is, sure, 3 meals a day, oatmeal, strawberries, maple syrup, pumpkin seeds. Take the time, sit down and eat it. Again, 30 minutes. It feels like a waste of time to eat, but you want to sit down, you're going to feel full, you're going to feel uncomfortable, then have a nice lunch. Have a salad, have the brown rice, beans, steamed vegetables, little salsa on it. And then for dinner, you want to have a lighter dinner. You want to have, again, a salad, a soup, something that really fills you up. Be sure to just gently bring activity, like a gentle walk into your life, because you're like, I feel a little uncomfortable. So the body, it's because of all the extra fiber you're taking in. You have to take the time to process that fiber by chewing it and eating it and digesting it. So that's the biggest challenge. Is in my book, I also mentioned there's not a restaurant I don't go to where I can get sides. I can get sides and I can eat a plant-based diet. So then if they check their blood value after a month, they're going to see dramatic improvements. You can't do that on a ketoacidosis or the standard American diet. Yeah. And then suddenly you're going to see that you're going to have more energy. You're going to start losing weight. Another thing I also mentioned in my book, I think it's really important because this was something I didn't know, is that you should be hydrated, well hydrated before a meal. I was always taught to drink my fluids with a meal. So you want to be well hydrated 30 minutes before a meal. Once you eat your meal, you want to wait 2 hours before you start taking in water or herbal teas. And so that really helped with my digestion issues.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great tip because I think very few people realize that they take water with the meal and they don't think about that. And then they don't think about that afterwards. So that's huge that you've already told us this. Again, the name of the book, I Love Bacon, but I Love Me More. You can get it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever great books are sold. And you're a nurse. And so you think about that, what you've been able to uncover. And a thing that we talk about a lot with our health is stress. And how do we battle stress and adverse things that happen, adverse events? And you talk about the fact that the plant-based diet helps you tremendously in that arena, doesn't it?
Kate, I'll tell you why. These creatures that we're eating, pigs, chickens, cows, they're full of cortisol. And I used to have literally panic attacks when I was on a high hormone diet. And so when I gave up all these hormones, there are no hormones in plants. My house burns to the ground with me in it. I lose to $1.7 million loss. I didn't have stress. I wasn't anxious. Every day I woke up and I went through my list of things that had to be done. But when I gave up animal products, I gave up high levels of cortisol, estrogen, and progesterone that I did not, IGF-1, that I did not have to have in my system. It did not do me any favors. And so a plant-based diet has no dangerous hormones in it. Hormones drive our anxiety and our depression.
Yeah, boy, that's something to keep in mind for sure. And you went through a very serious fire, and to come out that way where you could have crumbled to the ground, which lots of people would do, that shows you the difference of what's inside your body, right?
And then based on what's inside our body, we absolutely have much greater opportunities to face our challenges. And that's what's kept me on this diet, is I function at a much better level on this diet.
Do you ever cheat on your plant-based diet? Because I guarantee people ask you that.
Yes, I do. But I have that structure, the 9 a.m. big meal, the 3 p.m. big meal. I always have a plan. I got a plan written out. My biggest meals are the plant-based meals. And sure, when I go to a party, if I go to a special event, I will cheat. As a human, this is not about perfection, but this is like a group that we're following to stay on this diet. And after all these years, and just after a very short period of time, I realized the benefits that I've been receiving from being on this diet. So
Yeah.
yeah, cheating's okay. Cheating's okay. Always just keep coming back to this high protein or this high fiber diet.
Yeah. And so summing this all up, because you've told us so many wonderful things, and I think we've already said it, but what do you hope people take away from reading your book, I Love Bacon, but I Love Me More?
Well, that it's really about, like you said, managing stress. My life, even though it didn't get easier, my life became more manageable because I was able to handle stress better. I was able to handle the challenges better. My circulation was cleaner. My heart did not have all the plaques in it. So I was able to function at a much higher level. And because of this, that is why I'm on a plant-based diet. Food became my homework. Food can be our greatest medicine, and food can be our greatest poison that could poison us at the slowest level, and it creates tremendous misery in our lives. And I encourage people to take this challenge and to reconsider the choices that they're making, that they'll feel so much better. This is really about avoiding chronic disease. And again, the chronic disease, they get bigger and worse as we get older if we don't change our diet. And this is really about the most basic of medicine is food is our medicine.
Mary Matossian, thank you so much. Perfect place to end this. And I am so glad you're on this quest. Pick up this book. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much.